I want to talk a little bit about Huawei or Huawei, because this was on the political spectrum back in like 2017, 2018, 2019. Huawei was on a path to become the biggest telecommunication company, dethroning Samsung, but then it ran into some troubles with the United States and also some troubles with the European Union and different countries in Europe. So Huawei was making cell phones, and it was also making different parts in the telecommunication process, like cell phone towers, cell phone parts, things like that. And what they were accused of, because I'm not 100% sure that they were caught doing this, but they were being accused of sending information to the CCPs to China. Because for some of you that don't know, in China, they don't really have a free market system like we do here, right? Companies don't have to tell the government exactly what they're doing. They have private operations, and if the government wants to dig deeper in a company, they have to do it through legal means. So basically, there's a separation between government powers and also corporate and private entity power. So there is some separation there. Versus in China, the CCP, there are companies, but they, you could say, pledge their allegiance to the Chinese government. So basically, whatever the government wants in China, it has to be delivered by these companies, or they get blacklisted, they get kicked out, they get destroyed, they get split up. So basically, in China, you have to be on good terms with the government to be successful. And whatever the government is asking you to do or asking you to provide, they provide it without any kind of argument or without any kind of legislation. They just have to give it over because the government plays a big role in their corporate structure. Versus here in the US, corporate structure and the governmental structure are separate. So somebody from Congress can't just say, hey, give me this, I want it. They have to go through it in legal means, and it has to get approved, because you don't have to disclose to the government every single thing you do as a company. Of course, you have to abide by certain regulations, because then you're doing things illegally. But when it comes to information or communication between them, it's all separate. So Huawei was actually accused of providing information from private citizens here in the US and in Europe and in different countries in the world. It was providing information on, you could say, us to the Chinese government. So for example, if somebody in the army had a Huawei phone, Huawei basically has access to everything on that phone. They listen to people's conversations, they have your keystrokes, they basically know everything about you through the phone, or whatever information you have on the phone, and that gets passed on to the Chinese government, because if whatever the Chinese government wants, they receive. So they got a lot of backlash because they're helping build infrastructure in the United States, in Europe, in the world, and what that infrastructure is doing is there's like a back door through it, and then it's allowed to provide information to the Chinese government, which is a big deal, because we know that the U.S. government does do its fair share of spying on us, and you could say it's a little bit different when you have a outside country that doesn't necessarily uphold your values or your morals in a way, also taking your information. So no matter what we do, our information is getting taken by corporate entities in the US. But I guess on a positive note is at least this information is in the US versus another country taking our information for themselves in a way. Both countries are spying. The only thing is you're giving your information away to China instead of the United States without even knowing it, because nobody said that, hey, we're sharing this information with China. You're building your radio towers, your cell phone towers, your cell phones with our equipment, and there's backdoors to a different country. That's not really fair. Of course, if you look at the terms and conditions of Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, they're technically all allowed to take your information. But the thing is, that information is going just to these companies, and then they use it for marketing. What's going on with Huawei was that they're taking this information and they're giving it to the Chinese government, which I'm sure a lot of you probably have not known. And this was disclosed back in 2019, and the president at that time made a ban on Huawei technologies, Huawei cell phones, anywhere in the United States, like space, in the US sector, because we were getting these hints, these ideas that, hey, this technology is actually spying on us, spying on our citizens, it's spying on us, and it's providing some information to a different country outside the United States, and in this case, China. So that's the whole Huawei controversy, and that was back in 2019. I believe it was President Trump at the time, and the Congress and the House and the Senate all passed the law saying that, hey, we are banning Huawei devices anywhere in like the United States government and anywhere that has to do with the United States, which then leads to this whole situation with TikTok.